My dear friend Omar Regan, come on up, please. Yesterday you saw him perform. Omar will be moderating the intersectional storytelling panel in just a bit. You know, we are about 2 billion Muslims in the world, and unfortunately, many people forget in the industry that we come with intersectional identities, and we have many hyphenates. We're many hyphenates, so we're going to talk about that today. And I just want to say, Omar, you have been a brother to me. I love you dearly, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Every time I call you, I mean, we just start talking, whatever it is we need to talk about. Omar is the double for Chris Tucker. I don't know if you know that. I just Rush Hour 2. Just wanted to say that too. And he's getting his PhD in Islamic studies, and so, yeah, he's a dear friend. You have an hour and 15 minutes for this panel. You are standing, I think you're standing in between the panel and lunch, but no pressure, no, seriously. Yeah, so you got the whole time, like, as planned, okay? So take it easy, let it breathe like fine wine. We wouldn't know. There you go.
Thank you, Sue. Give Sue some love. Thank you, Sue. Oh, man. I didn't know you was going to tell everybody. That Chris Tucker thing was like 20 years ago. It's so long, man. I'm still here, though, man. I'm still here at the Muslim house. Jump out. Better ask somebody. You didn't know that, did you? You didn't know that. No. Okay. So you didn't know that? Oh my God, I did. You should see it. I didn't know. I was just grateful. I mean, Chris Tucker was taller than me too, but they still gave me the job. And then I realized I was the guinea pig. I was like, we want to protect Chris from anything happening, you know. And so we're gonna harness you. And when this glass breaks, I was there. And then we'll bring Chris in to say his lines. And I was like, oh, that's my role. Oh, man. And then they left me. I was like, so when we go in Hong Kong, they was like, no, we'll get someone else. I was like, come on, man, come on. Don't leave me. Okay, so first of all, let's give some love to the Hollywood Bureau, man. This is Impact Hollywood Bureau. They're doing big things. And I'm grateful that we're all connected and we have amazing people here. So we're going to have a balance. I mean, we're going to have real conversations. I have an amazing panel. These people are very well established. I'm going to read to make sure that I honor them, their bios. Also, this may be just, maybe one of the only Muslim houses that everybody came in and they kept their shoes on. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I hope you all are comfortable and that you are warm. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you this amazing individual. His name, I will save it for the end. He is a Pakistani-Canadian storyteller whose filmmaking explores intersectional narratives with universal appeal, earning him a presence on an international festival circuit. His creative scope extends to production design and education, and he currently serves as the festival director of the Mosaic International South Asian Film Festival. He is none other than Arshad Khan. Arshad. And wait, Arshad, listen. Can we tell everybody who designed this jacket?
Possibly me.
Give it to him. Arshad has a line coming out, exquisite.
Yes, because there's Pakistani men's clothing is awfully boring. So I went to Karachi and I was like, what is this? So I decided that my next calling is going to be designing unisex, men's and women's wear. So you're welcome to order your own jacket.
Yes. Arshad Khan, filmmaker, designer. Allow me to continue. Now, an award-winning filmmaker known for blending humor, emotional intimacy, and political insight to tell powerful, character-driven stories. She began her career in advertising before an transformative youth filmmaking initiative took her to Palestine in 2006. What was meant to be a 6-month stretch turned into 7 years, during which she witnessed firsthand storytelling can challenge and empower entrenched narratives. She builds empathy and empower communities. She is here with us, and we are blessed to have her here. Please let us welcome Amber Fres. You are welcome. You are welcome. You was there, huh? And you stayed. You're amazing. You are amazing.
I'm also Canadian as well. We got the real Canadian representation.
It's happening.
Yeah,
it's happening.
We're taking over. Come on.
And where's Xavier? Xavier's there. He is. There he is. There's another one. He's been talking about Canada all week.
That's right,
He's been recruiting all of us.
I hear you. I decided yesterday just to move back. I mean.
We may have to go because I don't know. Oh my God, guys. Oh my God. They're trying to run away. They want to run. Okay, now, born in San Francisco, an award-winning filmmaker with films shown at Sundance, Black Star, American Black, Los Angeles, Asian Pacific, Pan-African, Tide, urban film festivals. Amazing, all of this, just to name a few. Her writing has found support in the Tribeca All Access program. She's a Film Independent Screenwriters Lab. She's also in the Hedge Book Screenwriter. She's a professor. She is here with us. This lady is amazing. Please let us welcome Disha Deshawn. Yes. Allah bless you. She's representing the Black Muslim narrative. Yes. And now, without further ado, this is an expert we have with us, an expert scholar at the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding. And she's an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of Chicago, Illinois. She is a social psychologist whose research focuses on how entertainment media, storytelling, shape attitudes towards marginalized groups, particularly Muslims. Her work sits at the intersection of psychology, media studies, and social change. The core contribution of this individual's work or research is demonstrating that fictional narratives, such as TV shows, film, and popular entertainment, can function as powerful social interventions. She is here with us, and we are blessed to have her. It was very hard to get her. But she accepted this invitation, and she's in the present. Please let us welcome Dr. Suhad Murad. Yes. Oh, my goodness. So now I really just want to go immediately into all of you guys' questions, but I have prepared some questions for them, and they don't know them. First of all, let us warm up to something. Arshad.
Here.
Yes. Is it true that you began filmmaking at the age of 7? Tell us about that.
This is true. I was a little director bitch. This is true. I was born like I was like directing my mom. Okay, this way, this now that. Yes. At 7, I was directing my brother. I have evidence in my movie.
Okay. Yes.
I was meant to do this.
And you said your movie. What's this movie?
The film he's talking about is called Abu, Father, which is a film about my relationship as a gay son with my very devout Pakistani Muslim father. And the film, I'm using 1980s VHS videos, Hollywood, Bollywood clips, and animation to tell a story of migration, sexuality, spirituality, and love. When I was making, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. For those of you who've seen it, you realize that it was very painful because one of the things that, as Aiza will tell you about Pakistanis is that we never like to talk about ourselves and we love secrets and lies. And yes, we love to keep secrets. And so I, in my film, am attempting to uncover secrets, family secrets, personal secrets, community secrets, in order to start having that very essential dialogue about sexuality, about love, about family, because once you start speaking the truth, you got to start speaking all the truths. So, and after 9/11, a lot of us became aware of the big lie that is the association of terror with our identity. And that is what led me on my personal journey towards cinema. And so this film kind of encompassed my whole life. So I told it like a very personal story. Little did I know that when you tell very deeply personal stories, voila, they become universal stories. Yes. And accidentally ended up making a quintessential intersectional film.
Yes, yes, and I'm grateful that I was able to watch this film, and it is you definitely connect and you feel it, and it is inspiring, and I want to say good job, and hopefully you all will get opportunity to be able to watch this film sooner than later.
It was rejected by Sundance.
Sundance, are you here?
I was on the short list.
Are you here, Sundance? All right, thank you. Okay, they're not here, but we are here. We will support you. Now, Amber, your inspiration of becoming a filmmaker sparked from spending 7 years in Palestine. Can you tell us a little bit about that? You were there on the ground. Talk to us. Tell us. We want to know.
Similarly, 9/11 also sort of influenced me or inspired me to become a filmmaker. So I was living in Canada. I was working in Vancouver in a ski-board and skateboard apparel company, which is the direct route to filmmaking. And 9/11 happened, and my parents, who were born in southern Saskatchewan, my grandparents came from Lebanon to Canada, like at the turn of the century. We got phone calls telling us to go back to where we came from, which was like really confusing for me because I had really, I was very Canadian.
Yes.
Played hockey, like the whole bit.
Yes.
And it was really confusing for me because I really didn't have a strong connection with Lebanon. And so that sort of sent me on a journey, which took me to Lebanon first, where I was working with Palestinian refugees, and eventually led me to Palestine. And I went there for 6 months.
Yes.
I started a street hockey league, because Americans export democracy, we export hockey. Heated rivalry. And
Wow.
Just saying.
Wow.
Just saying. And while I was there, I started, photographing, first of all, what I was seeing. And eventually I started making short films for UNRWA, for other NGOs. And then I came across these women race car drivers. And one of them, I was working at UNRWA, and she was my driver, taking me around the West Bank. And so I literally just picked up a camera and started filming them. And over a 5-year period, we made a documentary called Speed Sisters that was supported by Sundance. We got a lot of Sundance grants for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
that's
that just
an outstanding film.
Thank
It's an
you.
outstanding film.
Wow. That is amazing. What a journey.
And then here I am today.
Yeah.
The Muslim House, which is, I have to say, I've been to Sundance several times. In the last few years, the Muslim House has become sort of our base, our anchor, our grounding. It has been so amazing, Sue, what you've created, and really appreciate. Also, I come here to have breakfast every morning and then go on to whatever else I need to do in the day. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
The breakfast was
Breakfast is
it's
good.
been
Amazing.
hitting areas. It's been consistent. Do you all agree? All right, give them love. Give them love. We appreciate it. They've been working hard. We appreciate that. So when you talk about these words of like go back to your country, as the blacks, here we're connected. We are we've heard these things, a long time ago from others. We didn't know. Well, we were like, where, what,
I mean, I had to ask my parents where we were from, to be honest. I wasn't sure either.
Okay, yeah. I understand when you say what you say, how you say it. Which brings me over, since we're in that, I'm going to turn to you, Disha. So as a filmmaker, and we all intersect, and we exist on different intersections as individuals. We have layers that we're, like Sue loves to say, we're not a monolith. There's layers to all of us. So how do you, Disha, and how do you choose the stories, or as the black, and you're a Muslim and you're a female, how does this shape your perspective and your storytelling?
I mean, I think first and foremost, you tell stories from who you are, right? At least, like for me, like my early training as a filmmaker begins at Howard University, under the tutelage of Haile Garima, and under in the 90s, under this really proud Black tell your grandmother's story type of thing. And then also I'm a child of the 80s. I mean, I grew up watching TV.
Yes.
And all the movies that were coming out in the 90s around. So you got Tell Your Grandmother's Story and Boys in the Hood. All of this is happening at the same time. And so you're very much emboldened to tell your story. And so that's how I begin filmmaking, with like a 16 millimeter Bolex. And I'm in my community. I'm navel gazing. I'm 20 years old. I'm learning to tell my story. And in the midst of that, as I'm really building as a filmmaker, and I go to Los Angeles to go to film school, right before, when I was at Howard, I converted to Islam. So, I'm a convert. I'm Black.
Wow.
And I become a Muslim.
Right.
And then I become a wife. And I become a mother.
Oh.
And all of these intersections inform the stories that you want to tell. So when you're kind of emboldened to tell your own story,
Yes.
then that's where the stories come from. You look around you. The things that intrigue you are the things that come from who you are.
Huh. So all of your stories, those are a lot. You said more than I.
I mean,
She has even more layers. Amazing.
No, but it's about layers, I think. Because
Yes.
even as we're talking, you're saying, I'm very Canadian. I'm very Californian. I'm multi-generational Californian.
I thought she was going to say I'm very Black. I was like, wow. Keep going.
But I am very Black. No doubt. But also I'm very Black American,
Okay.
right? Like I'm 7+ generations African American from enslaved Africans.
Talk that talk.
From the South, so there's all of these intersections. So I have my own juke joint in the woods story.
Yes.
I have, these are our stories. So it informs, who you are informs what you want to say.
Okay. And I like this because one of the reasons why I saved turning over to our Dr. Suhan is because I want to know from you, what got you into, how did you start doing research in entertainment media and its prejudices?
I think it started really when I was quite young, and just in terms of thinking about coming into my identity as a Muslim and as an American, as a Palestinian, as an Arab in the US, in a post 9/11 world. I think you have a lot to grapple with against the backdrop of being the target of discrimination. And so I think that partnered with kind of growing up. I'm Palestinian. I was born 1 month before the first Intifada started, and then that proceeded to continue for 6 more years. So I have these very early developmental memories of my parents watching the news coverage of Palestine and the Intifada. And from a very early age, media was bad, right?
Wow.
Because it clearly did not represent Palestinians accurately and Arabs accurately. And then that only became more and more true as I grew up. And then second Intifada happened and 9/11 happened. And then you just see how media represents Muslims and Arabs as these kind of representations that really didn't reflect my personal experiences. And so then you're out there in the world and you're trying to figure out who you are, and people have these very strong feelings about you, and you're like, this is linked to this kind of media representation because they've certainly never met me. And so those experiences linked kind of with my general interest in psychology and understanding why people do the things that they do, led me to ask questions about how does entertainment media and how does news media, how does the media actually construct our prejudices and people's strong hostility and their hate towards people like me, without ever actually having an interaction with somebody like me.
Yes.
And so that's where the interests came from. And then really it happened in a grad school interview where the PI I was going to work with potentially asked me a question, and he asked me, if you had to develop a prejudice intervention to reduce people's biases, what would you do? And I said, I'd use entertainment media. I'd use TV shows.
Wow.
And then that became my whole career.
Wow. That's how it
Still doing the work.
Still doing it because it's still happening.
Yeah.
Even me, I don't even realize that I'm also affected by the prejudices, I was looking around the room. I was like, what are all these different kinds of people doing at the Muslim house? And they were wanting to get in. I was like, this is different. I don't remember any of this happening. It was like, we are registered. The two big security men was there. We are on the red. We have a registered QR code. I was like, man, you want to go in here? I was like, I love this, man. So this is amazing, man. I like the fact that we could be all in the room together, because this is what we learned from the Quran, that we are in this thing together as humanity, and we are a reflection of each other. And so I want to thank everybody, everybody who said, yeah, I'm going in there. Thank y'all for coming in here. When I was back in Detroit, they used to wonder, they would look at the mosque and be like, what y'all be doing in there? Like we were a secret. We were like, welcome, 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 welcome. You can't. Okay, so Amber, what inspired you to choose such a confrontational title for your film? And how does it reflect the themes or messages you explore within the story? This title that I looked up, I was like, oh, I like this. She's very bold. You're very strong. It's Coexistence My Ass is what you said. I said, oh, wow. I need to know. Amber, tell us.
Coexistence My Ass. Actually, I wish I was bold enough to come up with that title. It was actually the title. For those of you that don't know, Coexistence My Ass is a documentary film about an Israeli activist comedian named Noam Schuster-Eliassi, who uses her comedy to fight for Palestinian liberation. Noam is a friend of mine. I met her while I was making Speed Sisters in the West Bank. In Ramallah. I was living in Ramallah, and she was working for the UN at the time. She comes from a village that sits between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, called Oasis of Peace. And she grew up, her parents were peace activists, and her father was a refusenik in the 80s that refused to serve in the West Bank, in Palestine, and also in Lebanon. And she grew up with Palestinian neighbors and speaking Arabic from a very early age.
Wow.
And so she transitioned at some point to comedy, and got a fellowship to study for a year at the Peace and Divinity School at Harvard to develop a one-woman comedy show called Coexistence My Ass.
Wow, I
So
love this. You were there in the flesh.
In the flesh. So I started filming with Noam in 2019, in November, and followed her story all the way through to 2024.
Wow. And any insights can you tell, like, how is she doing now? Like,
how is she now?
Yes.
She just had a baby boy, so she's and has moved back to the village with her husband and where her parents live. Yeah.
Okay, man, that's good. We got to give her love. I'm happy that when I said that you had a strong connection. So that I feel like it's important for us, for the people we have no idea what they are challenged with. We are over here. When I'm hearing these stories, like we can't even fathom what they feel like, what they're going through on a day-to-day. So I'm really happy that you are bigging up your friend and you're spreading that love. And she doesn't even know, but it's written for her. And we pray that it reaches her.
I also want to say to Noam's brother, this is not in the film, but Noam's brother converted to Islam. So it's a really interesting with her family, and it was something that we filmed, but unfortunately didn't make it into the film. But her family is such that they do celebrate. They celebrate Ramadan. They have Ramadan. They break fast with their son and community with other Muslims that are in the community, as well as all the Jewish holidays and stuff. And so it's just like the film itself is, I think that, as well as here is there's a real polarization, and I think that somebody like Noam really shows how there's a path forward, and the path forward is, and she does not waver from this, right. Is the path forward is justice and equality for Palestinians, and until that happens, no one is free. Israelis certainly aren't free. Jewish Israelis certainly aren't free until that happens, and so it was a real privilege to be able, obviously when I started making that film, I thought I was making a film about an Israeli comedian that was going to break into comedy in the U.S. in the year of an election, and that she'd be playing on college campuses. That's what I thought the film was going to be about. So we had no idea, obviously, over the 4 or 5 years that we filmed, what we were filming, because it was a long lead up to October 7th. But it was a real privilege to be able to tell this story during this time, because it really also, as a film team, it's myself. I'm Canadian Lebanese. My editor is Rabab Haj Yahya, who a lot of people here will know is a Palestinian editor, amazing editor, who is a Palestinian citizen of Israel, so speaks all 3 languages, and Rachel Leah Jones, who's a writer, producer, and my creative collaborator on this, who is an Israeli American, who is also, is very, very. An amazing filmmaker as well, and so the making of that film, I think, is probably as cathartic as the actual sort of film itself.
Wow, that is amazing. That's a lot. That is a lot, man. But I do want to give some love to your friend, and that was beautiful. We were in Palestine just with those visuals. Now let me go over to Pakistan.
Welcome.
Yes.
So listen, I just came back from Pakistan like 3 days ago. I love the place. What is the opposite of intersectionality? Like linearity? We are the global majority. Everything should be intersectional, except for the white supremacist shit, right? So yeah, the fact is everything is intersectional, okay? And you are living in a bubble in the United States. You don't know what the rest of the world is thinking. And my eyes started opening after 9/11. I was like, oh my God, what is this shit? And they started opening because I decided to tell myself the truth about my own sexual identity, because it's very difficult to be queer in my community. And I see the struggle when I go to Pakistan, how difficult it is for people. And when I look at Pakistan, Pakistan is run by the Pakistan Army. This is no secret. And recently, the so-called democratically elected leader, Imran Khan, was imprisoned at the behest of the United States. Literally, the United States is the reason why Pakistan's leader is sitting in prison, because they knew he was not going to play ball. The United States has a direct effect on a country like Pakistan. Pakistani people are very aware of what the United States is doing. United States people are completely unaware of what they're doing. And it's an intense kind of blindness that they live with in the United States. They really think they're the center of the universe and the center of the world. And I will also say the same for Canada. People like to tout about Canadian, things, but it is Turtle Island. It is indigenous land on which white people, took over and built a country called Canada. And the reason Canada is so far doing, United States has gone so far right that anything left of that is considered, people applaud it. Like in Canada, it's super centrist, run by a banker right now. A banker is running Canada. So all this just to say that, we have to open our eyes to the rest of the world, and also we have to realize that we are the global majority. And we have to realize that we are powerful. And this is the power that I'm here to share with you all. And this is the power I want to have resonate, all over the world. And we individuals, especially you American individuals, you have so much power. Stop drinking Dasani. It's owned by Coke. Use your power. Literally, I'm educating myself about everything from branding to what I consume, to what I buy, to what I share.
Yes.
And everything is related to the dollar. And when we, as the global majority, as the intersectional folks, decide that we're going to help each other's films, help each other's works. Yesterday, we had that gentleman from the Palestinian film, Hind Rajab, speaking about really pleading to you all, please come to the movie. It's opening on the 7th of February, which with that animation, sir, you were talking about it.
Yes.
He shouldn't have to do that. We should be building those kind of we should be building those bridges so that we can have resonance and people, we support each other's work.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to say.
I like that. What he's discussing now is Time Hoppers. This is the first animated feature film in 515 theaters throughout the United States of America, starring the voices of Sheikh Omar Suleiman, Sheikh Yasser Qadi, Nahela Morales, and Omar Regan. please make sure you go online and get your tickets February the 7th and February the 8th. And please make sure that you fill out those theaters and spread the word. Sharing is caring. Now back to our program. Listen, what I wanted to, Arshad, I love what you were bringing. I wanted to share a little bit of history that I also learned from your film, but I don't want you to take too much of it because you know me, you gave us something, and I want to hear from Disha. But I didn't know what I learned from his film is that the British partition of India, they separated more Hindus for India and then Muslims in Pakistan. And that was the divide. Now, and I was like, that is amazing. Now, we as black people, we have been knowing what the government have been doing a long time. No one would listen to us. We told them, don't go in there. Do not do it. But we knew what was happening, but we didn't really have a lot of voice, you know. So we have a lot of stories to tell so that we can make sure that now you guys listen. They try to tell y'all not to talk to us and stuff, but we were there, right? And what I wanted to bring up with this divide and this conquer is, as far as storytelling and what you were sharing inside of the film, Pakistani stories are not as loud as Bollywood, and I resonated with that because our stories is not as loud. We have to be like, oh yes, in order for our films to, you know what I mean, to be out there. You know, we ain't gonna go in this no more. You know, we have to do something extra in order for our film to be out. So it's just the same when I'm connecting with you about Pakistan, those stories, you know.
The fact is that Palestine, not Pakistan, has opened everyone's eyes. Okay. And now you have no excuse, you know the truth. Every time they say, and one thing I really grasped onto from this bout of genocide is every accusation is a confession, okay? So Pakistan and India, South Asia, divided. Why? To control them. Pakistan controlled by the military, by basically the US, British military. They are the ones who created it. When they created the country, they gave everything to 22 families. The same families still own everything. India, you know, much harder to control, but now has a fascist government. And India has it in its mandate to exclude any Pakistani content. And they don't even allow Pakistani dramas, which were very popular in India. Because how do people humanize other people is through art and culture, okay? Pakistanis, we grew up with Indian films. Indians, they grew up with Pakistani dramas because Pakistani dramas have the language Urdu, which is a beautiful language, stunning, excellent language, melange, created literary, poetic language made from Arabic, Persian, Farsi, English even, Sanskrit, you know, so it's a very important language. Then the colonial forces, which actually exist in both those nations, have now labeled it a Pakistani language or a Muslim language, which is outrageous. Just this to tell you that there's just so much going on. And Pakistan is this interesting country which unfortunately happens to be at a very geopolitically important location, you know, so that Russia is vying for it, China is vying for it, USA is vying for it, and it's Pakistani people are stuck. Yes. And not only that, they're creating all this media. They're trying to, you know, they're not even allowed to be on Netflix. Netflix has been mandated not to create any shows with Pakistan because India has mandated it. So Pakistanis are really struggling. Pakistani films are not getting through to the, the gatekeepers of the West because everything is mandated. And I will tell you, in my humble research, everything is connecting back to Palestine in such a weird way. And Pakistan Army has also been implicated in oppressing Palestinians. I will tell you this also. But just to tell you that Pakistan is to become a Pakistani filmmaker is a little miracle. Yes. So any Pakistani filmmakers, you should give them a little kiss like Fawzia Mirza and others, and Mo Naqvi and all these, because they are working in a very, very, inside and outside environment of kind of exclusion. And still, despite it all, making movies and telling their stories.
Yes. Okay.
Everyone, is Mo Naqvi in here? Because he has a film in the festival right now called...
Beautiful.
He's eating. Yeah.
He's in the... He's in the
He's
living
having
room.
breakfast. Yeah.
Okay, bless. He's in the
He's
living
gotta
room.
fill up.
On those little couches, those big square things where you could fit 2 people, but only one person can really get there.
So just to finish your, sorry.
I'm gonna come back because now this wants me where we connect at far as our stories is Disha, how many films do in the last 2 decades have you been able to see or been promoted that represents Black Muslim female? I'll wait.
No, it's interesting. I reached out to a couple of friends,
Yes.
Black Muslim women friends, some filmmakers, some not. Said, who is your favorite Black Muslim woman character in a film,
Yes.
or TV, or web series, or short film,
Wow.
right? And what I got back was a slow trickle. I got a lot of Betty Shabazz and Malcolm X.
Okay.
Betty. We love Angela Bassett's Betty. And then interestingly, I got from my husband, which I thought was great. He loved Belinda Kalila Ali from Ali
Okay.
by Nona Gay.
Okay.
He loved that.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's a Black Muslim woman there.
Yes.
But it's interesting. Someone mentioned the Lady Parts TV show.
Okay.
So it's interesting though because even with all of those characters, Malcolm X, Ali, it's still very thin, right?
Yes.
And so, but what's interesting about that though is that it's not until even those characters are supporting characters.
Yes.
The films don't center Black Muslim women. So it's not till you get to Nigel Mukmeen and you see Jen.
Yes.
It's not till you get to Amina Abdul-Jabbar's Muslima's Guide to Marriage that you start centering Black Muslim woman characters. It's not until Black Muslim women are telling the story are those characters even centered, even if they're well done in other places. Even if you look at the Betty Shabazz character in we love Angela Bassett, we love Spike Lee, but not until you see MLK X, where you have a Muslim Black writer, female, Maria Warith Wade, who's writing on that, do we start to see more of Betty's life?
Yes.
And it's more nuanced.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So yeah.
And as a Black Muslim female filmmaker, and you tell these stories, what is the obstacle that you're facing far as getting your films made, getting them done? What's that so that we can know these stories?
The obstacles are like everybody's obstacles, it's money.
Money.
I mean, it's financing. It's getting people to. I mean, from the very beginning of like I said, I took my Shahada and became a filmmaker almost simultaneously, around the same time.
Yes.
And so from the very beginning, the first things that I did, just naturally, you've got Muslim characters, Muslim themes. The short that I had that was in Sundance had a Muslim. Now, it's interesting, too, because when you say Muslim character, some of my friends were like, well, we didn't see them praying in the movie. And I'm like, that doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, you don't, and not to say that I have that in some of my work where we do see, them fasting or Ramadan's happening.
Yes.
But not every film or every character is that a part of it. But his name is Khalik.
Okay.
He's Muslim. Mm-hmm. His name is Safir. He's Muslim, right? And
Yes.
so it's always a challenge, but I think it's just fierce independence.
Okay.
You just have to figure out how to make the work.
Well, in the film that you're saying that they want to see him go to the mosque.
Well, some people do.
Okay.
Some people do. But what I'm saying is that that's not necessarily the case. But you say, what are the obstacles? The obstacles are getting people to support that work and then getting people to come and see that work.
Okay, well, let me ask, as far as supporting this work,
Can
do
I
you
add
feel
to
like
that for a second?
Yes.
That I
Yes.
found is that I also find that when you have Muslim characters, like not just from a funding perspective, but when you're getting feedback,
Yes.
right? Especially as a young filmmaker. So just as an example, when I was making Speed Sisters, and we were showing it for feedback and funding and stuff, is the comment that we always got was like, you need to show more tension with men. Right? There must be, they're women, they're Muslim, they're Arabs. We didn't really specify if they were Muslim or not and throughout the film. Like, there were cues, but, you didn't go. But it was really interesting because they really wanted us to position, like, Muslim Arab men in a very particular light, right? Because, of course, that they're against women driving, right? Like, Arabs don't want women to drive. And what we found in the film was the exact opposite, that a group of these male race car drivers and fathers and friends and brothers supporting their sisters, the women racing.
Yes.
And that's what we chose to put into the film. But it was really interesting because as a young filmmaker, you're really, like, you almost, it's almost like they want you to internalize this racism to be able to provide a story that fits their narrative, not our own. And so, as for young filmmakers or people that are coming up in the film industry, I really, I really stress to stick to the nuances that to be true and not to take on what other people want
And
you
then, can I add to that?
Yes.
I feel like, and as a narrative filmmaker, the nuance is already written into the pages. If you're a writer, you've written authentic, rich characters. It's already in the pages.
Yes.
And then it is like the discrimination is across the intersection. It's, do you really care to support a woman's perspective? Do you really care to hear a black woman's perspective? Do you really care do you want to see a film about a black woman, a black Muslim woman on top of that, right? So it's like I remember.
Wait right there. Do you? Do you want to see a black female's perspective? Okay, all right, okay, yes. Oh my goodness, wait, can we give her some love? Amazing filmmaker, Christina, she is here with us. Can you give her love? She has an amazing film. Welcome to the Muslim House. She has an amazing film called Albany Road. She's a writer, director. Give her this love. Yes.
Also, I want to quickly mention there's a film called Brides, with a lead female black Muslim character. British film by Nadia Fall. Brilliant film.
Okay, nice. We're
And
happy to see you.
Atlantic. There's another film, Atlantic's Madi Diop.
Okay. All
Great
right.
Muslim woman character at the center.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this. All right, I cut you off when you were saying you remember.
I just remember being in film school and, one of my white classmates was talking about a film that was out and became really popular. This filmmaker went on to do amazing things, but the poster was up in Westwood and it had an all-black cast,
Yes.
beautiful all-black cast. And he was like, it just doesn't look interesting to me.
Wow.
And I was like, what about it doesn't look interesting to you?
Yes.
And it was so fascinating and ironic because then like 2 years later, that filmmaker comes to campus. They're a bit of a Hollywood star at that point, and everyone is clamoring around this film and this filmmaker. But just on the poster, doesn't look interesting to me. And I'm like, it's just black people on the poster.
Wow.
What doesn't look interesting?
Maybe he
to
just wasn't what I don't care what Tyrone is doing, I don't know. But I mean, just in the last Mark, not to give her too much attention, but Christina, she is this film, and it's a black story. It's an amazing story that's just full of so many different layers that when you watch it, you will connect to it. And if you're flying on Delta, it is there, Albany Road, available on Delta, on your way away from Sundance Film Festival. Writer, director, present. Thank you very much. And back to our program. Which brings me to Shahad.
Before
you
you
wanna
give,
talk-
I just wanted to give
add
you
on.
like a little bit of data to back up what you're saying about
Yes.
why that poster wasn't very interesting. I just finished this 2-part study where we asked parents whether they would expose their children between the ages of 2 and 7 to certain programming, and all we show them is posters. And so the posters vary depending on kind of race and gender of the subjects, and we find links between people's prejudices, their baseline prejudices, and what they will select to view for their children. We don't find the same biases in the children themselves. So what they see, what they're wanting to watch doesn't necessarily map onto their parents' prejudices, but then you could see over time how that will trickle down, unfortunately.
So we're all responding, which we don't know, possibly. We're all responding to indoctrination. Like, we are being programmed to even view things differently. And so, and then we think we just want to do representation. As long as we're represented, as long as we're in there, as long as his name is, Khalil or Abdul. But your research, Dr. Murad, it shows that we need to go beyond representation. Is this correct?
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, representation is important, but it is the absolute baseline. Like, this is just basic, right?
Right.
There have been 2 themes that, for me, have emerged across all of the panels at Muslim House. The first theme being that we need authentic stories. And the second theme being that these stories that we tell and the narratives that are portrayed in our entertainment media, they penetrate people's hearts. I would argue that that's actually the baseline. Like, that's actually very basic. That's not profound. What we actually need to be doing is pushing the envelope and going one step further and asking ourselves, how do stories penetrate people's hearts? What actually is happening that it penetrates people's hearts? How are we shaping people's thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs about us or other groups? This is kind of basic psychological processes that really apply to different groups, but in this case, we're focused on Muslims. How do we understand what that is? And a few years ago, I mean, Zabe, I don't see Zabe, but I do see Kirsten. A few years ago, I did an experimental study on the effects of watching Little Mosque on the Prairie on people's anti-Muslim biases,
Yes.
both implicit and explicit, so those that we're consciously aware of and those that we're not consciously aware of. And we found really amazing effects. So after watching 6 episodes, immediately after, their anti-Muslim biases are almost completely kind of thwarted. And then 4 to 6 weeks later, we still see that there's a reduction in those biases compared to a control group which watched Friends.
Yes, yes.
And what's interesting here is that next step of thinking that we all have to be engaged in is when we actually dig into how that's happening and what the underlying process is, that was only true for people who identified highly with the characters that were being represented. It was not true of people who perceived the storyline as being authentic alone. So above and beyond authenticity of the story and how it's perceived,
Yes.
relating to the characters, really identifying with the characters, feeling like you could put yourself in their shoes,
Yes.
was a critical piece for actually that reduction in prejudice towards Muslims, above and beyond that authenticity.
Amazing. So humanized characters that people can actually see themselves. Like, I mean, really, like, what's reality? Like inside of this room, everybody, like, we all come in here, we know everybody is connected because it's cold outside. We like, and then we see each other, we like, oh, and we're artists. Oh, and now it just gives this nice, just this nice kumbaya kind of environment where we're all just in here. Our hairs is different, our hats is different. I shaved my head today. I'm trying to embrace this, but I'm shy. There's hijab. There's there's hijabs, there's not hijabs, and then we need to put this inside of the stories is what you're telling us. And your research shows this. This is not just you're not just talking.
No, I'm not just, so I think people's intuitions are correct.
Yes.
Oftentimes, but sometimes the intuitions are not correct. And so we have to challenge our own intuitions, and that's what I'm in the business of doing.
When you say intuitions
Like,
are...
we should represent ourselves in this way or that way, and that'll change the audience, or that'll show the audience who we really are. That doesn't necessarily always translate to what happens to people psychologically. And I'll give the example of, like, one thing that we often do is there are the stereotypes and there are the stereotypical representations, and I think the intuition is to be like, let me counter this stereotype, which is an effective strategy, but there's loads of psychology research on the extent to which the counter stereotypical representation works, right? Like there is a point that is too counter stereotypical, that is too different from what people think a Muslim looks like or an Arab looks like. And then people engage in a process called subtyping, which is basically when they see that character as an exception to the rule. So they might feel great about that character, but it will have no bearing on how they feel about the rest of the group. So really calibrating is really important. So understanding what those processes are, how we can activate them, and then how we calibrate them.
Man, that was heavy. We got to give that some love.
Sorry.
You are really into this thing. You know what you're talking about. Like scientifically, analytically break this down to you all. Don't just try to go back at the man. Like, we are here. They know you there. Tell your story. Tell an authentic story. Thank you, Dr.
I call that show White Friends.
Uh-huh.
Friends, White Friends. That's the show, actually.
Yeah.
That's how I introduced it to my nephews and nieces who didn't know that show. I'm like, yeah, no, don't watch that. The fact is, we are in a crisis. You have a civil war in the United States. It has resonance all over the world. White supremacy is increasing, and we need to make sure the people who... She's doing the research about the people, how people are affected by a show like Little Mosque on the Prairie. But guess what? The other side has also done that research and intentionally keeping our stories out.
Yes.
This is not a figment of our imagination. We are intentionally being excluded. We're being silenced. Our films aren't being accepted. Gatekeepers are not taking our projects. This is an urgent call to action, and I cannot emphasize enough why I'm so grateful to MPAC and this kind of platforms. Let's just not talk the talk, but let's walk the walk and really help each other, support each other, get money for all of us for our next projects, and find out what our next projects are, please.
Okay, find out. Amber. Connecting to from our analytics over here and understanding, you also have a background in advertising, right? And so from an advertisement perspective, because this is one of the challenges, our fierce Muhammad Malis was talking about it yesterday, about the budget. We make a film as independent. We're so excited to make a film, but then we don't have the budget to advertise that film so that it can actually connect with the likes of people, or like what we're saying, we're continuously plugging time hoppers so that people will know because the budget is small. Advertising, how important is advertisement far as what we're discussing and that mission? Should it be on the forefront? Should we go after advertisement dollars first?
Well, I mean, I haven't been in advertising for 25 years, so I mean, I'm not I'm not an expert in advertising. But I have to say, like, just through my experience, my recent experience with Coexistence My Ass, which premiered at Sundance last year, so I've had a year of trying to promote this film, I think that advertising is a really big word, and who watches TV? Like, I mean, does anyone even watch an ad? Like, what ads do you actually see, right? But you see social media, like posts, right? And I think that when you're bringing these films out, like, I think that was one thing that we used a lot with Coexistence My Ass was targeted social media ad buys and stuff. There were some of that. But I think the most important thing is really building a community around the film. I mean, we know who the audience, there's like low-hanging fruit of audiences that you know are going to be. So for Coexistence My Ass, we were looking at like the Jewish Voice for Pieces of the World and the JFREJ, the Jews for Racial and Economic Justice. Like, we were looking at, for example, Coexistence My Ass was the opening film at the San Francisco Jewish Film Festival this year, and we asked the Arab Film and Media Institute to co-present. They co-presented that film this summer at the start of the Jewish Film Festival. So there was community in both of those communities sort of coming together. And so I think that that's what's really important. They talk about that impact producing, what impact your film is, and in order to do that, it's actually getting to the communities. I don't know if that's necessarily advertising per se, but it's I think it's more community building, and then as you do that, it starts to ripple out. But
okay, I like this. Disha, do you have a script and ready to go to be funded?
The answer is yes.
Yes, of course I do.
You were thinking of which one?
I have a project that I'm working on right now. Again, I think gets back to the question of intersectionality and why you tell the stories that you tell. One of the things I think was important that you said with your research is it's authentic stories, it's our voices, our stories, that's what's important. I feel like there's been so many like panels and discussions about just over the course of my life about representation. And I feel like the storyteller, I want to just posit this, that the storyteller should be less concerned about representation. The storyteller should be concerned about telling a real story about real people. Yes. So one of the things that I'm working on is a project about, and I don't want to say too much about it because I'm still in the process of researching and developing, but it is really looking at San Francisco, Harlem of the West, 1950 post-World War II. And again, this is like who I am impacts this, right? Because again, my family comes to California as a part of the Great Migration. And the stories, the things that are happening in the Fillmore of San Francisco between, formerly incarcerated or interned Japanese Americans and Black Americans, and kind of what's happening as urban slum clearance is happening, right? Yes. So I have a story that I'm telling within that. I'm from Altadena. Yes. Now I'm an Altadenian, so I have a story that I'm writing about Altadena. Yes. Of course, I'm a professor too, so I'm like research based now, and so I'm also looking at history there, looking at the 1980s. I'm looking at the pandemic of the crack epidemic and how it impacted families. Yes. And so that's where I'm starting to mine my stories from, and I'm working on those two things right now, in addition to the fact that I'm in post on a documentary about Noni Olabisi, who is a muralist in South Central Los Angeles. She's now passed on, but she's known for one of her famous murals is Protect and Serve. Yes. Another one of her murals is called Troubled Island that depicts the Haitian Revolution. And so we're doing a short documentary for an exhibit at the Huntington called This Land Is, ... America at 250, and looking at the relevance of her work, and then also the relevance of the Haitian Revolution to now and then.
I like this. And I like that all of these things that you were sharing, it was coming from a Muslim, but it wasn't about being Muslim. I love that. Like, it's important for us to tell the stories that inspire us to be able to share, even though I would like to remind you all that Black Muslims have been in America since before Christopher Columbus and long before then. And those stories have not been told, and how 5, 6, 7 generations of people of Black Muslims that has been around, and then just throughout the United States. And there's so many different stories. I think about even my mom and her story of what she was going through, and I just know that everybody would connect with those stories. So
let me chime on that, because even with the Harlem of the West story that I'm talking about, as I'm doing the research, right, I'm looking through newspapers, Black newspapers. I'm in the archives at UC Berkeley, kind of combing through newspapers and stuff. And one of the things I do to like create the characters and the texture of the world is what were the businesses on that street? I'm looking in the the telephone book. I'm looking at, and I found, so in addition to the jazz clubs and the churches and again, it's intersectional. So I'm telling a Black story also. So in addition to the jazz clubs and the churches and the sororities and the cotillion balls and all these things that I'm finding in the newspaper, and the crimes also, which is also fascinating, I find in the telephone book a mosque. And I'm like, how is this in the telephone book that it's literally here in the Fillmore, in the Black community, in the 1950s, and I don't see it in the history, right? So of course, as a Muslim, and I'm writing the story that's going to encapsulate a neighborhood and people, and maybe for television or either a book, right, where I can have multiple characters. Now I'm going to go towards that. Like, well, who was this mosque?
Who was that?
So it's always, if you're telling stories, authentic stories that are from you and who you are, then being Muslim is always going to be part of what you do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
and being who you are. And I would like to turn this over, give my panel some love. Yes. We were talking that talk. I have a few minutes to get some questions from the audience. Please don't shout. And also, I would humbly like to ask, they are saying it all for all of us, and I know some people, they never seen a mic they didn't like. But we just asking Sue, just ask Sue if you could be on the panel next time. I just want your question, okay? I don't want your paragraph, okay? Please, with love. With love, okay? Because time is precious. With love, all right? Question? Yes, first question.
Well, thank you so much for a wonderful panel.
That was too much. Next question.
No. I just wanted to say that from the idea of intersectionality and working on a film and targeting a Spanish-speaking audience, and so some of the hurdles in this kind of discourse is being a Muslim woman, educated, targeting a Spanish-speaking audience that intentionally media has been dumbing down the population altogether, coming in from intellectual level and actually lifting, intellectually the group and speaking at a level of, So I guess my question is, for research purposes, what would be, what's the best strategy in targeting audience and making sure your message comes across and you connect the best? Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Yes. So one thing that I haven't really heard much discussion about is who the audience actually is and who people are trying to target. And the nature of the narrative should vary depending on who the brunt of your audience is, right? So maybe a story about going through difficulty is really, really important for the community that also went through that difficulty. If you're trying to influence the outside community, that story is very uncomfortable and may not lead to positive effects. But again, it comes back to who do you want to target, right? Like in advertising, you're not targeting everybody out there, you're targeting the people that you want to get to kind of buy your product. Right. And every production that is created is in some sense you are communicating information and messages to people, whether you want to see it that way or not. And you are in the business of showing people this is right, this is wrong, or convincing people that they should have this attitude or that they should consume this thing, whatever it is. And I think in your case, you have to consider which audience you want to be most heavily influenced by your production. And it seems like it is the Latino Muslim community, and I think Latinos in general. I would say the most important thing is actually assess the effects that your production has on that community early, and in the process, basically kind of A/B testing or pilot testing the effects of the narrative that you're putting out there on the outcomes you think might be most heavily affected. So whether it's their sense of belonging or their sense of national identity or their sense of openness to Muslims, whatever it is, piloting and trying to actually assess those outcomes early on in the process.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that. You received this?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Next question. There he is.
Hi.
Another Canadian, I just want to say.
Hey, we're taking over. I have a question. I have a film working on right now called J is for Jihad. You saw the hoodie. And it's a story about 5 people named Jihad in America. And I guess I'm really interested, particularly speaking to you, Sohad, just a lot of the conversations we had in making the film are kind of around, we talk a lot about, humanizing Muslims and kind of just giving nuanced kind of more portrayals of us in media, but there's also been a lot of talk just generally in the general, particularly documentary community, speaking about the limitations of humanizing people, and in a sense, kind of the starting place is that they're not human to begin with, and now you have to humanize them, and the limitations of that, and as opposed to, or not as opposed to, but without also examining kind of structural issues and media and addressing kind of media literacy, or what a deliberate campaign to essentially, demonize Muslims, and without actually examining that. It's kind of like there's no shortage of that happening, so it's kind of like this battle between the two. And I'm just curious from your own research, if you have an opinion on that, or what your research has shown to, like, addressing both those things in tandem, and what the most effective strategies you've come across.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this quite a lot, because I think when it comes to the public narrative around Palestine, we are in an unprecedented time. Like, public opinion of Palestine has shifted pretty dramatically. The way, at least independent media talks about Palestine, I never could have imagined this. I would never have imagined that we would be where we are, and in our ability to just talk about Zionism in the way that we do. You couldn't even say that term like 3 years ago. It's absolutely wild how much we've changed. And yet, at the same exact time, like, the situation in Palestine is objectively getting worse in the West Bank. It's horrendous in Gaza. It's not improving. There is not truly a ceasefire. So what bearing do these narratives actually have, and these individual level change have, when the structures and the powers that be continue to propagate whatever agendas they want to, right? And so I think it's very difficult, because it's hard when you want to see the change happen, but change is incremental. Social change has to be incremental on some level. It shouldn't be when there's very clear, like, moral right and moral wrong, but it's just how we function as humans. Yeah. And it will take time. And I'm forgetting who said it yesterday, but somebody was saying, like, changing individuals, those individuals are at the heads of foundations, and they are the ones who are going to become the politicians and the filmmakers, and in these different spaces.
Who said that? Oh.
I think it was Julia.
Oh.
I think it was Julia. And yeah. And so I think we have to also manage our expectations of what we can achieve in a short period of time. We really want to see change immediately, and it's not necessarily how it's going to happen. And we just have to brace ourselves for that.
Okay, I hope that helps. I only have time for technically one question. I have my boss here signaling. So I would like to do like a rapid, but I think this panel is so inspiring that everybody they want to hear. They have a lot to share. So I gotta just ask a question, and then we try to get a quick answer so that I could make sure that they invite me back next year. I'm trying, guys. What are you doing? If I go over time, I'm judged. Sir, is it one more question? Hands up. 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
Yes.
it's super short. Oh, okay. Great. It's what, the 20th anniversary of Little Miss Sunshine, right? So when do you think we're going to get the stories breaking beyond the single narrative? Oh.
He was already at a 7.
I mean, you can see my T-shirt, man enough to be a Girl Scout. I'm a Girl Scout troop leader. So when are we going to get the stories where it's not like centering Muslim identity and telling like the Muslim story, but just telling a story of a family or a person, and they just happen to be Muslim and living that? Like, when are we going to get the Little Miss Sunshine for...
I think that's happening. I think you're not seeing it.
Yeah, but when are we going to get that distribution? When is it going to break through the mainstream? Like, that's what I want to take my kid to see, right?
Yeah, I think, I don't know about the mainstream, but I know that it's happening. I think we listed some of the films that are doing that already, and I think you got to look for them, and you got to support them, and they are playing festivals, and these things are happening. That's how I tell stories. I mean, you know, Christine Swanson, we just keep referencing her, but she's a good friend of mine, and like, she's telling the story she wants to tell by any means necessary. And I think what's important as we're talking about this, moment. I know this is a new moment. We are in a new moment in the United States of America. but we've been in moments like this before, and there have been filmmakers all the way to Oscar Michaud, who was making his films and four-walling them and taking them around the nation and showing and telling his stories through Jim Crow and all of the rest of it. And so this is America. That is what this is. We're cycling back through. And so we have to just continue to do that. We have to look for them, though. We can't just say, well, it wasn't at Sundance. So, I mean, I've made something at Sundance, but I've also made things that weren't at Sundance, but it was at Black Star, and it was at Pan-African.
Okay.
And it was at LA Asian.
Okay.
So
The revolution will not be televised. That's
places?
right. Okay. You know and I know. Amber, you in on this question to answer? Before we wrap it up, I'm looking at my boss.
I mean, I think I agree. I think there's a lot of stuff being made. I think there's also Deli Boys. I think there's also, Mo. There's Rami.
Yes.
We do have examples of the. I mean, they're not PG Little Miss Sunshine, but I mean, I think Deli Boys is like such an amazing example of a story that isn't leading. They're up with being Muslim and such I love that series so much.
Did you receive that answer? You loved it.
No,
you received it.
I will be the contrarian,
I like it.
and I will tell you
Okay.
that making a film is hard enough and getting it seen is impossible. We have amongst us a great filmmaker. His name is Imran J. Khan, and he made this brilliant film called Mustache, which which was a film which really has, if Disney was really fair, has Disney written all over it because it's a Muslim 13-year-old boy's story of coming of age, and it's absolutely outstanding. Literally everyone should see it. It won an award at South by Southwest. It was rejected by Sundance. So a lot of gatekeepers did reject the film, and the film is having a hard time getting theatrical, which is outrageous. So you make the movie, which is hard enough, and then getting it seen is a whole other challenge. I say Mustache is even, I would say, at par with Little Miss Sunshine, if not even better. I don't want to compare, but I'm just telling you, Mustache is your Little Miss Sunshine, but just has no distribution. And that's a sad and pathetic and horrible situation for which we need to find solutions. And this is why I feel MPAC exists. So we find those solutions and ask those hard questions and not just, deny the fact that we are not having our voices heard.
And to that point, I got that from Layara yesterday. And to that point that you're making about MPAC, now that you know why MPAC is here and why MPAC has been here, this is their mission to have a hub where creators can actually go and they can express these stories, and then we can keep building collectively. So you may have these stories where, this looks like it's just, promoted or written for Muslims. You may just have the story, like you said, it's not about being Muslim, but they just happen to be Muslim. So we are a collective. So it's up to us to make sure that we support MPAC. We're not just here like beyond Sundance. You have an organization that needs the support of what their mission is. They can be a lot stronger if we was also involved with them. If we said, hey, what do y'all need? What does MPAC need? What can I do to support? Because they also a nonprofit, but look at what they're pouring into us, right? And they didn't ask me to say this, but I'm trying to get hired next year. You want the truth, or what do you want? Okay, so what I'm saying is, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see all of us here. I'm happy to have this. I'm also, Doctor, listen, in closing. Is there we need to put aside the budget for you to analyze our scripts?
Please do keep a line in the budget for me. I'm happy to test the effects of your scripts.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
And
I'll give you a cut, don't worry.
You are welcome. Can I get the first one for free, please? I'm trying to plug, you know what I'm saying? All right, so give love to my beautiful panel, Dr. Suhail, Arshad Khan, Amber Perez, and Disha Deshawn. I have been your moderator, Omar Regan, and this has been Intersectional Storytellers by Muslims, MPAC Hollywood Bureau. Shukran, salams.